Your podcast can look, but more importantly, sound like this. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through how to set up a podcast just like this. Congratulations on your decision to start a podcast, but now we need some equipment. So let's get started talking about the computer. The first thing you're going to need is a place to actually record your live stream to. And so I'm going to be using my MacBook Pro for this setup. This is going to allow me to have the software that I need to actually record the podcast and be able to plug in my microphone and my video camera, which we're going to talk about shortly. Now, if you don't want to use your computer or your laptop, you can always use your smartphone, making sure that you use the best camera on your phone and pointing it at you in a really well-lit area. This will allow you to have that camera that you need to be able to create that video podcast, because what's the point of just recording audio when you could just record video just as easily? So that is the first step, is making sure that we have that recording device ready to go. Now, if you haven't heard this statement before, audio is more important than video, well, make sure you take that to heart right now, because your audio setup is going to be the primary reason that people actually stay on your podcast. You want them to listen ideally from beginning to end. Ideally, I would love for you to watch this video from beginning to end, and having bad audio will definitely have listeners tuning out. Having great video is important too, but we can overlook a bad video, but overlooking bad audio just isn't happening. So for this audio setup, we're going to be using the Shure MV7 Plus microphone. Now, this is a newer microphone that Shure has sent over to me for review, and I've featured it here a few times on the channel. Now, what I love about the Shure microphones is that they've been around for 99 years, so you know you're going to get a quality audio microphone. This particular microphone has two ports that you can use to connect. The simplest being the USB-C port. And if you're just getting started with your podcast setup, this is going to be the easiest way to get started. Simply taking the USB-C cable and connecting it from the microphone to your computer is going to be the easiest setup for professional audio you can get. And on the back of this microphone, there's also a headphone jack as well that you can use to plug in your headphones so that you can monitor your audio. Having a really good pair of headphones will allow you to actually hear the authentic sound that's being recorded. I highly recommend that you use wired headphones over wireless headphones. That way you don't have to deal with any interference issues or lagging issues, because there could be a delay if you're going to be listening to your wireless headphones for the audio that you're recording. And especially if you decide to do an interview, the last thing you want to do is deal with an audio delay and constantly talking over each other. When it comes to setting up your microphone, there are two different ways that I actually like to mount my microphone. One being on a microphone stand. Now, this specific stand that I'm using right now is actually a little bit too tall for the desk that I'm at. So an alternative method that I use regularly here on this desk is a low profile arm. Now, this low profile arm is from a company called Elgato, and what I like about it is that you can actually hide the cable through the cable management. So by simply hiding the cable inside of the arm, it makes a nice clean looking setup. And plugging the USB-C into the computer and then the other end into the microphone, along with the headphones into the headphone jack, now I have my audio setup pretty much complete. Well, in fact, we could stop right here. I have a complete audio setup for my podcast, and that's what you need to really get started. But if you want to take this to the next level and actually get some viewership to your podcast, I highly recommend setting up a dedicated camera. Now, because I am using a laptop with a built-in camera, I could easily default to this. But I don't want you looking up inside of my nose or looking at the ceiling. I highly recommend using a dedicated camera. Now, there are many cameras on the market, but the camera that I'm using right now to record this is the Sony FX30. It allows me to use interchangeable lenses, have a little bit of shallow depth of field, and has a really clean picture quality. And I'm always looking for a quality setup when I'm doing my podcast. So this setup works really well for me: a dedicated camera, dedicated microphone, dedicated headphones to have the ultimate podcast. Now that we have the gear that we need all set up, having it connected to our computer and using the ECAMM software is what I'm doing right now. ECAMM is a live streaming and recording software that allows you to bring in your audio into your computer, easily select it from the drop down menu of all the audio sources that you may have, along with choosing the camera option that you want as well. This is going to allow you to capture your video and audio inside of your software and save it to your local computer. And if you decide that you want to live stream your podcast in the future, you simply can hit the toggle switch and do that as well. Just that quickly, we have everything set up for our podcast to get started. But now it's time to distribute it to the world. We want people to find our podcast the same way you found this video. That's why I'm a huge proponent of putting your podcast on YouTube. That's the easiest place to start for free. By simply having a Gmail account and going to youtube.com, you can upload your podcast there today. So make sure that you have your YouTube account all set up. And also make sure you're thinking about monetization. How are you going to monetize your podcast so that you can do this for the long term? If you want to learn more about that, make sure you check out this interview that I did, because the information in here is really going to help you launch your podcast into the stratosphere. Welcome to the Creator Strong Podcast. This is your place for all things as it pertains to the creator economy. If you want to learn how to monetize your live streams, monetize your podcast, make sure you're subscribed to this channel and leave us any questions that you have in the comment section below. Without further ado, let's get started.